was good. We're never very far away.
Yeah.
No, so anyway, we went up and we took Daisy with us and Clary next door. David had to go over to Sandgate and so did Clary, so we drove over to go to the bank.
Ah, okay.
And then we come home.
Very good. Okay. So you can tell
Now
me.
you ask me questions and I can answer. What's on now?
Huh? Oh, just about when did you come over from? Like you were born in Glasgow.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't born here in Australia, but I was born in Scotland. And my mother was a widow at the time, and I was 7 years old. And my mother had a sister in Australia here, and she had married a soldier from the war, from the Second World War. And she'd come over and she was very lonely over here. And seeing that my mother wasn't married and there was only her and I, she asked her would she come over here and live to be company so she'd have somebody else of her own over here.
So there was just the two of them, just the two sisters?
Yes, there was only that. My mother had a couple of brothers and that, but they were over there. They used to be coal miners in their days. And so my mother agreed to come over. And we come over by boat.
Yeah.
And the name of the boat was the Ballarat.
Yeah.
And it took 6 weeks to come from Scotland to Australia. It took 6 weeks. And in that time, I had a wonderful time. But when we went into the different ports on the way over, when you'd stand up, I can remember looking up and looking down where all the luggage was kept. And some of the dark people would dance and sing and people would throw money down to them.
Wow.
And and my mother was very sick all the way through, all the way over here. But
what was she, seasick?
She was seasick, and I wasn't seasick at all. It didn't affect me.
What year was that you came over?
My mother was come over here. I was 7 and I was born in 1922.
Wow.
So you can work out what year it was that we come over. It was before the bridge, Harbour Bridge was opened.
Oh, really? 1929 it must have been.
Yeah, 7, 8, 9, that's right. And that was when we came over here. I can remember the Harbour Bridge being opened. And when we came over here, it was so, I was because I was Scotch, and I had the Scotch twang when I spoke. My aunt used to think that it was really great to hear me talk.
Yeah.
And she used to have friends come in just to hear me talk.
Yeah.
Because it was so broad.
Yeah.
And but then once I'd been here for a while, I had to go to the school, and it was very hard to learn the Australian language, to be able to talk like the others. But of course, my mother had to, when she came here, she had no way of keeping herself, so she had to go to work. And at that time, my auntie said, "Well, I'll look after her with my children," and she did. I stayed with her while my mother worked out as a cook and that on sheep station, and of course there was so much land and so much country, but we really came from a dairy farm family in the old country before before my father died. They had a dairy farm.
Oh, okay.
It was all cows and that, yeah.
Is that where
and
you
used to
lived before you came to to Australia?
No, we lived before we came to Australia, we lived in a little township which was called Drungan.
Oh, okay. Is that
And
near
I went
Glasgow?
to school, and that's where I went to school.
Mm.
And I was born in Glasgow.
Mm.
And my father, I was only 13 months old when my father died.
Mm.
So that left my mother a widow.
Mm.
And of course, seeing that she couldn't look after the farm on her own, she tried to for a long, long while. And then she sold it and came into the little township which was called Drungan.
Mm.
And she had two brothers living there with their wives and children. And it was and I loved the school. I really loved school, but of course it always puts you back when you shift from one country to another. It puts you behind
Mm.
in your learning and everything else. But I used to remember walking down the railway line where there was big banks and the ground would be cut away and the train line would be along, and the old-fashioned steam train.
In
Scotland. This
Yeah.
was in Scotland. And we used to walk along there to be able to go to visit my mother's father, my grandfather.
Ah.
And I really can't remember that much about all the family, but I remember walking up. It used to snow there, and I used to walk up from where we lived a little bit out of the town to come to school, and we used to get a lift on the back of a big horse and cart, and we'd sit in the end of the cart and get a lift into town to school. And as we passed along, you'd see the big paddocks and everything, the big farmhouses and everything. And it's lovely memories that I can look back on. But they're not really too clear because being that age, you're just at an age that you do remember certain things.
Yep.
And the little one, I can remember they used to have their chooks in a box, and it'd have little bits of wood down, and they had chickens, and the chickens could get out through that and run around everywhere.
Yeah.
And then the mothers had clucked them all in, and they'd all rush in to go back into their mother if there's any danger around.
Yeah.
You know, little things like that. They don't have here in Australia. I haven't seen it here in Australia. They're usually just free range and they let them run. And little things like that, you know, and it's really, really nice sometimes to sit and think back on the things that we used to do when we were young. But then when I came out here and I went to school, it didn't take me long to lose my Scotch accent because my mother wasn't with me and she was working and I was only with my aunt, and of course she had been here for quite a while and she had
Did she have children?
Yeah, she had 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. So no, we used to have good times and she was very, very good to me.
Do you know where she is now? Does anyone know where she is now?
What, my aunt?
Yeah.
Oh, she'd be up in the spirit world by now.
Oh, I mean, but her children or whatever.
No, I lost touch with them. But a lot happened in my life in between me growing up. Some very sad things. And I don't think anybody'd want to hear about all that. But it's just your life, the hardships that you have to when you come to a new country and a new place, the hardships that you can go through. But, I mean, that's another story.
And what about your husband?
Oh, yes. My mother remarried, and I had a half-sister. And she grew up and she left home, and I I was living in a little place in Auburn with my mother and that. And my mother got very ill and she had to go to the hospital. And of course she was in the hospice for quite a few months before she passed away, but she was very ill. And her husband, 12 months before that, her husband died because he had an accident at work and it made him, he had a very bad leg and he was in a lot of pain, and he passed away 12 months before my mother. And then my mother, she got very sick and she passed away, and 12 months after that I heard that my young sister had passed away. She got very ill and she'd passed away. So that was 3 of them in the 3 years, 12 months apart. But my husband was, I met my husband there at his sister had just married and moved into the house next door to us. And that's how I met him. He used to come to visit his sister and that.
Yeah.
And I met him. But he was always a very ill man. He had osteo. And he had a few operations before I met him. But we got on very well and that, and he knew us before my mother and stepfather died. We knew one another for quite a while before then. But when all this happened, of course I'd married, we'd got married.
Yeah.
And I was about, I hadn't had any children, but I was about 7 months pregnant when my mother died and that, so, and we lived in her house and we were still next to his sister's place.
Okay. How old were you then?
27.
Oh, you were 27. You were my age.
I was 27 when I got married. And after that, we lived there for quite a while. We had about 3 children while we were living there, and this was still in Auburn.
Yeah, that must have been Auntie Carol, Auntie Mary.
Yes, it was Carol and Mary and David. I had 2 girls and a boy. And we moved out into the country, and that was at Glenorrhea, a place called Glenorrhea.
Yeah.
And it was Crown land, but we thought, well, we wanted to live in the bush to give the children
some space.
Some space and some, and where it was healthy and everything. So, and we built our own little house that we lived in, and the children went to school there, 3 of the children, and then I had. I had how many children? 3, 4, 5. There was only 3.
And then there must have been Margaret.
There was Margaret.
Then my mum.
Yes.
And then Bernadette.
Yeah, that's right. There's Margaret, Claire, Carol. No, Carol came first. Anyway, I had 2 more children, and then my husband got very sick again with his osteo, and he'd been working very hard. We grew our own vegetables and everything, and he'd worked very hard on the land. And he couldn't, and the osteo was playing up, so we decided to move up to, where did we move to? Gaylong.
Where's
a place
that?
called Gaylong. That's up past Glenorrhea, Old Northern Road. We could go up
in
past
Sydney.
And no, it's going up towards. No, it's still in New South Wales, but it was going up towards where was the?
It's about how far would it be? About 2 hours drive from Canberra.
No, towards Sydney, like between Sydney and Canberra.
No.
No, we haven't come to Canberra yet. Canberra. we're still in Sydney. We're coming up from Sydney. Yes, we came from there. It was quite a way. It was really out in the bush anyway to us.
Mm.
And then I had Bernadette, the last one. I had the other two in Glenora, and then the other one, the baby one, was born in. The last was a girl. She was born in. What was the town? Harden. The next town to that was Harden.
Mm.
And she was born there, and of course we had a very good life there. The children went to a boarding school. It was a boarding school, but they could go as day pupils at the boarding school. So, and we had a lovely life, really. My husband got much better than he was, but he was up and down all the time.
Mm.
But what was one of those other big towns that we used to go to?
Cootamundra or Young?
How did you get around
Young,
with 6
Young.
kids?
We had a car. He could drive a car, and we had
Yeah.
an old car.
How did you all fit in?
Well, I don't know. We sort of
Very
all
squashed.
we were very squashed,
You couldn't remember.
and we had a ute. We had a ute as well. And when we were building our place in Glenora, we built it with strips of masonite. Is it masonite? What's that other that they say that you can?
Fibro.
No, not fibro.
Cladding.
Must have been fibro strips. And we used to put the strips, they'd come down, and then we'd slip another one up underneath, and this is how we built it.
Must have been cladding.
And we built it from the earth as well. The rammed earth, they used to call it.
Yeah.
And make the walls put frameworks up and put the dirt in and ram it, and they used to call it rammed earth.
Oh, okay.
And then when you'd bring the framework away from it, you'd put cement rendering on the outside so it'd seal it up,
Oh, okay.
so the dirt wouldn't fall away.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun doing that, and the children had a wonderful life there,
Yeah.
you know, and it was a shame that we had to leave it. We made a road from one level of the ground, and there used to be another one further down. We made a road, cut away a road and everything.
Mm.
You know, our own track to get down to the bottom.
Mm.
It was lovely. We used to get the flowers, the wildflowers, sell them on the side of the road, and you know, do things that children in a city wouldn't have the chance to do.
Mm.
And it gives them that feeling of the country and freedom, you know. So we loved our life there, Glenora. We were there for quite a few years.
How long were you there for?
I was 7 when we left.
Yeah.
He was 7, and when did we go? You were only about 3 or 4, because you could go to school. And he used to go to sleep in the school bus on the way home because he was so tired and he had to travel so far away to go to school.
No.
Then there was a little school opened up there, and they could go over there to the other school.
But wake me up.
David, get up first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, all those things that you do in your life. And you know, when you think of it, having lived and had the chance to experience all that, if we hadn't moved over here to Australia, that would have never happened.
Mm.
So it gave us a life as well. Yeah. To be able to live like the Australians live. It was lovely out in the bush.
Who looks like your husband? Uncle David. You look like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Very much like it.
Do I?
Mm. My husband was one of 7 sons.
One of 7.
7 sons.
Wow. And were they Australians?
No, they were Scotch. They were,
Oh, he was from Scotland as well.
my husband?
Yeah.
No, not my husband. He's like his grandfather. No, he's not like...
my father.
Yeah, you are like your father, David. You are. You know, when you're talking about things and your mind's on here, then your mind's on Scotland, and then I was talking about my father's brothers in Scotland, and there were 7 sons of them, but he is also very much like his grandfather, my father, and his brothers. He had 6 brothers, and they were all over in our country.
Oh. But what about your husband? Where does his family come from?
His family comes from England.
Oh, England.
He ran away from England and come over in one of the boats.
Oh, he left.
Yes, he left England. That's how I met him here, because he lived here.
Oh, so he just decided to leave and left?
Yes, he wanted to explore, I suppose. He had that exploring nature that he wanted to go and see the world somewhere else or the other side. And he came over by boat.
By himself?
And, yeah, he ran away and he worked on the boats.
Wow.
Who's that?
I don't know, someone for Clary. The postman.
Oh, he put it on the chair.
Pass on the chair for you there.
She does it.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow, so you just decided to leave and left?
So he decided when he was young he wanted to go to sea, and he got a job on the boats.
Who's
Yeah.
this?
Your father got a job at the boats, and that's how he come over here to Australia. But he was English.
Oh my god. Where in England was he from?
I really don't know.
Yeah? You know where he's from? Doesn't say on
No,
any certificate.
no, he was English. But I didn't know much about his life at all.
No?
About his side of where he lived and where he come from. I should have, so I could tell the children, you know, a bit about his life. But he had a sister out here.
That was Norma, Auntie Norma, wasn't it?
Now wait a minute.
Yeah, enormous, his sister, yeah.
Now wait a minute. I'm getting muddled again,
You are.
because it was his father that come from England
Oh.
that ran away on the thing and come over here, because he's got a sister as well here, and he had a couple of sisters at the time. One of them's passed away, and a brother. So he had 2 brothers and two sisters. There was 5 of them. But his father was a runaway from England,
Oh.
so he had English blood in him. And his mother was Irish.
English, Irish and Scottish.
Yeah.
Was he? So he was
And
born out here,
Wales.
was
They
he?
say we come from Wales as well.
My father
What?
was born out here. Was he?
Oh yes, he was an Aussie,
Mm-hmm.
but his father was English.
And what about Auntie Norma?
And of course, Auntie Norma was David's
Auntie.
a sister.
And they
Sister.
lived in
No,
Sydney?
you just said David. You're getting mixed up again.
Auntie Norma is David's sister. Is your sister. Auntie Norma's your sister.
No, my auntie.
Auntie Norma is your husband's sister.
Yeah.
Oh yes, that's
Okay.
right. My husband's sister was
Yeah.
Auntie Norma. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm getting all muddled up. You shouldn't have this on, but you're getting all muddled up
No,
like
it's
this.
alright, don't worry.
Can you cut it out?
Yeah, I'll cut it out, don't worry.
You can sort it out. No, well, they were all Australians. Auntie Norma and that was here. And there was Auntie Dot, and they all had families too. So
So what did he do? What did he work as, your husband?
He was, let's see, he was like, he worked with jugs, making jugs, jugs and toasters and things like that.
Yeah.
That's what he used to work at.
Worked in a factory, did he?
Yeah, but he used to be a designer, designing, but that's what he worked. I don't know really what he actually done for it, but that's what he worked in.
Mm.
He didn't work for long. After we got married, he worked for a while, but then he got sick with his osteo, and that's why we went up in the country, because he couldn't go to work and he was on a pension. And by being out in the country, he could do what he was able to do and stop, So we tried to give the kids the best life that we could, chance in life and have a good life. But isn't it funny? In your mind, you can be thinking of this one and that one, and then you realise that the ones you're talking about, the other one's their father. Or their grandfather.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's all confusing having the ones on mingling in with the other one.
And what did you do, Nanny?
What did I do? I used to, I couldn't go to work much because once I left school, I had to look after my mother and my stepfather. They were both sick. And what I did, I used to, in the war days, there was one of my stepfather's sons used to work in making pennants for the soldiers, to take overseas for them or to take back with them, the Americans and that. And in the pennants, they used to silk screen the pennants with white silk screen, white paint.
Yeah.
And then what we did, we painted a picture on that white silk screen.
Wow.
We used to put kangaroos on them.
Yeah.
And a bit of scenery around them, kangaroos and the koala bears and things that would interest anything about Australian on it. We used to do, and we used to do hundreds of them, stacks of them.
Yeah.
And I used to carry them home in a case and paint them at home to try and earn some money.
Wow.
So that's what I did when I left school, so that I'd be there with my mother because she was sick and my stepfather was sick. So anyway, that's what I used to do. And then when I gave that up, I went and did housekeeping, helped in a minister up there that was looking for someone to help his wife in the house and that. And I took that job, and I had that for a long while. That was before I met my husband. So, but you just went along as best way as you could, really, and just do what you could, because you couldn't live a normal life going to work and everything like other people because of the others being sick and that. You had to just fit in and do what you could. Anyway, that's enough of the sadness.
So then, where were we?
Now, where are we going? That's a way back before the children come in or anything. So you'll have to sort it out and slide it into where it fits. But
after Geelong, I think you're talking about, was it Geelong?
Yeah.
And then you moved to Canberra.
And then when my husband was still, he used to be pretty sick and that with his legs and that. But anyway, so that the children started to grow up and they went to high school and that. And where'd they go to high school?
When we were living in Geelong.
Yeah, Harden. They used to go to Harden to high school. And then we had to go to Canberra for work for them because they're old enough to go to work. So we thought we'd better shift there to give them a chance to to go to work. So we moved to So we've moved around a fair bit, haven't
Mm.
we? Yeah, so we came to Canberra and the girls got a job and that, and my husband started to get fairly bad, fairly sick then. So I went out to work for a while. And I did it to get a government house because we put in for a housing commission and there had to be one of us working to be able to get it. And he couldn't work. And they wouldn't take it that the children were working. That had nothing to do with us. We were wanting a government house. So anyway, I had to go to work. So I went out house cleaning again and cleaning offices. And my husband had a car, and of course he used to take me to work when I had to do it. And it used to be at night time, night work. But the children all the time, the children were growing up. So they were getting older and that. And then later on, my husband died, and he and my Bernadette was 7. Isn't that funny? Everything's in sevens. When we left there to come out to the bush, David was 7. I left Scotland. I was 7. It's strange, isn't it? Now Bernadette, we left there, or when he'd passed away, she was 7. Then anyway, once we had to wait for a few years for the housing commission house, and once we got the house, of course, I could give up work, and I got a widow's pension then. And then the other children, they went to work, and the others went to school, and then we kept on going until they all grew up. And here I am in Queensland then. I came to Queensland when I was 60.
You stayed with Albion.
Free now, aren't you? You're 83.
Yeah, I came to Queensland because your mum and that was up here with the children.
Auntie Bernadette?
No, your mum was
Yeah.
up here with the children.
With me.
Rearing,
Claire.
you weren't born then. But Claire and her husband had moved to Queensland, and I decided to move up here to be close to help with the children. Remember, I was here and you lived round there?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the children just lived a couple of streets away, and we were in housing commission houses again.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's how I come to be in Queensland. Because I'd help with the children down there, and they'd all grown up, and now it was the grandchildren that were coming along. So it's really 3 generations. So anyway, I'm here. I've always been very happy in Queensland. I like Queensland. Yeah,
Nice and warm.
made a lot of friends and had a good life. So.
What can you remember about Australia when you first came here? What was it like? It must have been really different. There mustn't have been much here in the 30s. What was Sydney like?
I can't remember. I know that we lived in Leichhardt for a long while. We got a place in Leichhardt and we were living there. But of course,
Castleville.
Yes, but this was when I was married. Oh no, it was before. No, when we first came, we stayed with my auntie. We moved in with my auntie for company for her. But her husband was still living, and she had 3 children then, and she was expecting another one. So anyway, we stayed there with her until my mother got sorted out and worked out what she was going to do and where she was going to live. But of course, sometimes things don't work out the way you want them to.
No.
Or the way you plan them to.
Yeah.
So things went a little bit wrong, and of course my mother had to go away to work. It was the only work she could get. So she had to go out in the station, and then I had to, I stayed with my aunt. But it was a very hard life between that and and to me, getting married and everything, in that part that was in between all that was very, very hard.
Mm.
So lots of things happened in there. I'm quite sure you don't want to hear about that. Sad things I think are better left alone. You like to talk about bright, happy things. So, but now I've been very happy since I've been up here from Canberra. We've had a good life. All the family's done well. All my children have done well.
They have.
So haven't they?
Haven't
Really,
you?
they've all done well.
Mm.
They're all comfortable.
Mm.
And here we are, just getting on with our life. No, it's good. It's good. I'm very proud of all of them. Really, the way they've gone. I'm very proud.
Mm.
Now the grandchildren, and now there's great-grandchildren.
Mm.
So our family's grown in
Yeah.
generations.
Do you have any photos of anything? No.
No, the one that had the photos was Mary. I don't know how she got them. I believe she got a lot of photos.
Mm.
And
Carol had some too, didn't she?
who, Carol? I don't know. It was Mary that seemed to get the photos. I don't know how she got them. But
What does she have photos of?
photos that I had.
Mm.
That I had of when I was a child, when I first came out here.
Oh.
And there's photos of the old country that Carol took when she went back to Scotland. She went over to see where I lived,
Mm.
where I used to live, and all the you know, we lived in my aunts lived in terrace houses,
Mm.
and you know they're all joined together.
Mm.
And the house that I lived, it had a thatched roof. The little
Oh,
house
wow.
we lived in had a thatched roof,
Mm.
but that was outside town a bit, and all the walls were whitewashed,
Mm.
and that. So I know it was for years. There's a lot of things that you'd like to remember that you can't just remember.
Mm.
But now you remember more of the past, they say, when you get older. You remember more of the past than you do. But I remember a bit of the past, but I really more know what's going on around here, like around my life now with all the children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren.
Mm.
So, no, it's been a good life.
Mm.
I wouldn't change any of it.
No?
You know, some people think, oh, I wished I could have had this or did that or that. But my life was really good. I wouldn't change any of it.
Mm.
Go through it just the same. Anyway, that's my life.
Mm.
Thank you, Nanny.
Cut.